show, I have some very special guests. I have Mike Zapcic and Ming Chen, formerly of Comic Book Men, Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, I Sell Comics podcast. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much, Barnaby. That's wow. It's great to speak with you. We're actually connecting from across the ocean, which is damn.
Yeah.
I mean, Ming, you were talking about this to me not too long ago that like back in the 90s, this was unheard of.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah. First of all, Bart, I believe you're our first international podcast.
Really?
Guest. Yes.
Oh,
I mean, as far as doing like a stream, and ever since this whole thing happened. So thank you very much. I believe you're in the UK. Is that correct?
that is correct. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I wrote a paper back in college. 24 years ago. About the very first video conferencing application that I used, and I wasn't doing anything groundbreaking or scientific. I just wanted to talk to people. I was wasn't really hanging out with real people like back then. I met everyone virtually. So
or now,
yeah, it was like this. It was crazy. I wrote this paper for a college class, and it got uploaded up to a server at my university. And it sat there ever since. It never got deleted. And somebody unearthed it the other week.
Wow.
And I was like, holy crap. So I linked it up on Twitter. But if you go back and read it, like you read the words of a very like young nerd Ming Chen from 1996.
idealistic.
Yeah. It's not that different from how I am now, though. It's nothing's really changed. So
And Ming, this is no offense to you, but how bored do you have to be to go back into your college transcripts, into your college, and be like, you know what? I'm going to pull up Ming Chen's senior thesis for a computer class that he probably got. Well, you probably got an A in that one.
I did.
I mean, they should have gone into your animal husbandry class and tried to get some stuff from there. Because
I think what had happened was somebody was doing I don't know if they're doing an article. It must have been an article or maybe even a paper for the proliferation of video conferencing, especially now since we're not allowed to be with each other, and it just came up randomly. But I would have never thought to look for it, and I don't know why it's still there, but it's kind of cool. It's like remember those old time capsules that they made you put stuff into in school or whatever?
Yeah.
It was almost like that. So
did you mention sex as a part of that? Did you like
What?
the applications for these are unlimited, but I think the one thing is cam girls.
I touched on it actually in that article.
Sounds dirtier than you meant it, but
Touch on there's a little section of even back then, and it wasn't like this. It was all in black and white, Barnaby, and if you got like a 2 frame per second frame rate, like not like this is like if you got less than 30 frames per second on something like this, it's garbage. But back then it was black and white, 2 frames per second. But even back then, like if God forbid like a girl should show up on back then in 1996 at a video conference, immediately like she was getting harassed. Like it was almost immediate.
Not like now then.
Nothing changed. Nothing has changed.
No, I remember the times back then. I'm not that young. I was about 16 around that time, so I sort of got into the internet very early around that time. So I remember the sort of like bad cameras. Well, compared to now anyway, like back then you kind of like it's like playing video games from back then. Like back then they were amazing, they looked amazing, they played amazing. You go back to them now, they still play amazing, but they look awful.
Oh yeah.
And so back then, you were flirting with girls like via text, it was all text based. So you were probably talking to a dude like 9 times out of 10.
Fishing even back then.
Yeah, so at least with the camera, you knew you were, your certainty that you were talking to a girl, at least you were like at like 50-60%, maybe even higher. So I think that was the only difference. So
2 frames per second, they didn't really have to try terribly hard to fake it as a girl.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny. It's fun. I mean, things really haven't changed. The quality's improved a little bit.
Yeah.
Ease of use has improved a little bit. And I mean, I love it. I love that we can do this very easily and we can talk and hang out with you.
Yeah, no, it's totally like it's amazing, really. I mean, us being like 4,000 miles away from each other, and you know, it's kind of like you're like right here, like wearing headphones. I can hear you clearly, I can see you clearly, stuff like that. So it's quite,
we're trying to get back out there, man. Me and Mike went to Scotland, Edinburgh, like literally
nice.
almost about 3 years ago, and man, we had fun, man.
It was great. I love the local color, the local cuisine, the local everything. You know, not getting harassed by people. They're like, oh, you know, you're American, so we're going to kill you. Which is not, I don't know how that is over there right now. It's like, you're American, so you know you must be related to Donald Trump. So have a couple of bullets.
Are you touting UK cuisine?
You kidding? It was so. I had one of the best Indian meals ever.
All right, on
Scotland. Which I mean, granted, if I'd gone to India, I would have expected that. But Scotland, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, no, the Indian cuisine is actually one of our national dishes, apparently. You know, you got your typical kind of fish and chips and you know things like that. But no, the curry, yeah, that's right up there in the top sort of 5.
Damn straight.
And they have to be good here. You know, it's one of those things that if you get a bad curry, well, one, you regret it. And,
hey, sometimes when you get good curry, you regret it.
Well, yeah, there is that too, but at least you had a good curry.
Yeah, and then Barnaby, about a year and a half ago, we were supposed to be at a Comic-Con on the Isle of Wight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it almost happened, and then it kind of crumbled, and it didn't happen.
That close.
But I had plans to take a ferry afterwards back up and take a train up to London. Like it was going to be a whole thing, and then it got taken away from us.
Well, I'm hoping you guys make it over here when things do open up again, and we're allowed to sort of, you know, get together in a crowd of people. Because yeah, no, I did a few cons in the States when I was over there, and they were very good. I've done a few cons here as well. I've met obviously so many people at those things, and the sort of you know, it's one of those things that I do miss, especially in the States. It was very different. It was a lot bigger. Like here we still have, well, not anymore actually, our big Comic Cons are huge, but the sort of like, I was used to the sort of like small room in the hotel where you meet the random people. But no, I'm glad that's sort of like coming out. I was going to ask you about the con circuit actually, like what's that like, kind of surfing from con to con?
I love it. If you follow me at all on social media, you'll see in the past about 4 years, almost every weekend I was at a different convention somewhere, and you don't go to a different con every weekend unless you either really love it or you're getting a ton of money each week. And I'm not Stan Lee, so I wasn't getting a ton of money each week. You know, made a little bit of money. So the only, so I was going because I truly loved it. Yeah, you've been to several conventions. You know how much fun they are.
Yeah.
You meet new people, and then most times you see old friends who also travel the cons week to week. And then I just love exploring different cities. So I mean, I love eating and drinking things. So that's what you do in different cities. There's always a place where you can eat and drink something really awesome. And every city you find that one unique place that all the local people go to, and immediately that's where I make all my friends too. And then once you find those places, and the weekend is over, your goal is to get back the next year. And that's what I spent all my time trying to do is get to, if there's a con that I haven't been to try to get there. And then once I get there, if it's awesome, I try to get back there like every year. But I love it. I think me and Mike came from a place back in the day where it was very isolating. There weren't huge conventions.
No.
There wasn't this rabid fandom that we have now. There weren't, Facebook groups. There weren't websites. There weren't people. there wasn't places for geeks to gather and hang out with each other. So it was very isolating. So now that we have all that, we're it's like being a starving man at a buffet, man. It's you just start loading up on stuff, even though you probably can't eat all of it, but
he's gonna waste it.
Yeah, but I think we really learned to appreciate those kind of environments, and that's why I try to go. That's why I love it so much. I think.
Yeah.
Ming hits like a perfect point. I call the con circuit Ming's summer camp because he goes on a Thursday or Friday. He usually gets there a day early, checks out the local color, looks around, explores. He's a big speakeasy guy, so even though there's no prohibition anymore, but he likes to enter places in weird form. That's another podcast, but when we go, he usually scouts out like where the best places are to eat from the locals, and we go, and it's a lot of fun. And it's like being in the trenches. It's like almost warfare. It's you and either the handlers or the other guests. You get really close to them really quick because you've got to pack so much into like 2 days that you've got this shared experience where it's like you're meeting fans, you're talking to people, and at the end when you're like, you know what, it's time to go out and have dinner and a couple of drinks, you end up at the same table with, say, like a Jason Isaacs, and you're sitting there talking to him, and you're in awe because here's the guy who killed Mel Gibson's kid in The Patriot.
Yeah.
And he's also, in Starfleet, and
right, and he raised Draco Malfoy.
Exactly. And you're like,
that's pretty cool.
And you find out he's not a dick. You're like, oh my God, you're an amazing guy. And he's like, yeah, I just play a dick in the movies. I guess I've been typecast, but I have no problem because the money spends. And, you get to talking and you're like, oh, now I got to leave my best friend. I did the same thing with Sylvester McCoy. He was so great. The Seventh Doctor. He was so great to my kids. And just such a gentleman.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh, now I got to go. And he's like, he left. We were talking and he's like, he packed up his stuff and he left. And I'm like, oh, and my wife is like, you miss him already, don't you? I'm like, yeah. And he came back. He's like, we've got to get a photo and I want a hug. And I'm like, holy shit, the Seventh Doctor wants a hug from me. So that's awesome.
That's amazing. That's amazing. One of my like fondest memories of a con was in England actually. Me and my wife and my newborn baby went to one up in Birmingham. I think it was Collectomania, I think it was called, or Memorabilia. I can't remember. It's one of the two that they have up that end of the world. And sort of to bring it into this sort of like scape of the universe that we're in right now, Jason Mewes was there. It was really cool. I had I got something signed by him, got to say hello and all that kind of stuff. And I went to the Q&A with my daughter in my hand, like holding her because I was looking after her. And he gave her a shout out on stage. Like,
that's awesome.
A baby bringing it to one of his Q&As, which not always child friendly, but she was like
almost never.
Yeah. But she was only like, I guess, like 6 months old.
Her first word was shit.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, no, man, start them young. And Mewes is the master of hey, let's take a selfie, and then it's like he'll take like 14 of them like this. So you got like 87 pictures of you and Mewes on your phone. It's like, all right, I got my money's worth for sure.
And he did this duck face that Carrie Fisher was famous for.
Yes.
So,
and it was really cool. Sorry, I was going to say it was really cool because the other people there as well was just like, I was just literally just walking around and there were like obviously cast members from various shows and stuff, and just the sort of like attention my daughter was getting was quite amazing. So, but I didn't take advantage of it. I didn't get any like freebies or anything like that. I wasn't like, mooching off anyone, but it was just really cool because they were just like, it's that kind of like realizing that they are genuine people. I've been quite fortunate to interview quite a few people for my show, and that's what my show's sort of based around. It's just a conversation, but it's usually with like musicians. So very rarely do I get guys like yourselves and their former TV sort of people. And
were you going to say schmucks?
No.
Oh, you should have. That would have applied.
No, I wouldn't do that. But like I've only rarely had people from like the sort of acting world and things like that. I've actually had a Star Trek actor on my show before, which was kind of cool. He was in Voyager. It was I don't know if you know Manu Intiraymi. He played Icheb.
I'm sure I'd know him if I saw him.
You know if you saw him. No, but he was really cool as well. Like just like from kind of, I mean, not knowing what these people are going to be, like a lot of the sort of like musicians that I speak to, some are large, some are small, but everyone's been really cool. Like, you know, it's always that kind of like fear beforehand of like, are these people going to be dicks? Are they going to be their persona? Are they going to be, you know, what they're written about in the press and whatnot? But no, everyone's been really cool. I've even had Dave Windorf on the show as well. He's from your neck of the woods.
Oh, Dave, yes.
Yeah.
We love Dave.
Yeah,
Dave
he was really cool.
And yeah, I feel kind of bad for Dave. I think Monster Magnet was about to go on tour when all this hit, and they can't. Although I think knowing Dave, I think Dave still lives in Red Bank, right, where the store is. And I've never been to his house. I heard it's pretty cool. It's like a pop culture horror mecca, and he's got spinner racks, comic spinner racks in his house. Yeah, something tells me he's fine, like not leaving the house.
He just goes down. Yeah, Walt told me that his garage is decked out like a comic book store, and he used to actually run a comic book store in Red Bank before Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. It was called Fantasy Zone.
Nice.
Yeah, it was in the basement, about a block away from where the stash is now. And I think the famous story that I keep hearing is like Dave Windorf would be working behind the counter, and Kevin would come in to buy comics there, and Kevin would like Dave would give him his comics. He's like, no, I don't want this one. This one's got like a little bend in the spine. Like he would look for the perfect condition comic, and I think Dave would get mad at him. Like, and you know, this is before Kevin made Clerks, I believe.
Yeah.
But he was always looking for it was like looking for the perfect carton of eggs. He's always looking for the perfect perfect condition issue comic, just you know, just so he could get a 9.8 CGC one day. Like I don't know, but from what I heard from Dave later, like Dave would get so frustrated, like, dude, just take the stupid book. Like it's not gonna be worth anything. Just take it.
Oh my god, he's right. So.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I didn't get to talk to him about like too much on the comic side because it was basically about Monster Magnet. Like they were just released an album, so it was mainly about that. But no, I really wanted to speak more with him, but unfortunately, you know, you don't get that much time with them to kind of like sit and really kind of rap with them. And
yeah, but there's a whole episode like, dude, you named him. You named a character. You know, you named a Marvel character for one of your songs, which I think is awesome. And Negasonic Teenage War.
Warhead, Sonic Teenage Warhead.
Yeah, and we're like, so man, like, you know, like, did you get a check for that? He's like, nope. You got nothing.
Not even a little bit.
Nothing. Which I was like, man, that sucks, man.
Like, did you get a free comic? He's like, eh.
Anyways, so Dave, cool guy, man. That's all you got to interview him.
Yeah, no, it was really cool, and it was it was just just like I say, speaking to these people, and they've all been really cool, and and I was chatting to you guys as well, and it's just like, not that I kind of had any kind of like preconceived notions. Obviously, I've listened to your output of the past, be it through I Sell Comics and through TESD as well.
We
know,
love those guys. Sort of.
What nice thing.
Well, I was just like, you know, because obviously there's plenty you can get from those. You can kind of like draw a picture, you know, and it may not always be true.
It's almost never true, especially with TESD. So
yeah, that's what I figured. So I just want to touch on the comic book men show, if that's all right as well. Just
absolutely.
Sort of,
so real quick, so you're in the UK. Did you watch it out there? Did you bootleg it at first? How did you come upon Comic Book Men?
I lived in the States.
Oh wow, okay.
From 2012 to 2017. So before that, I think did it first there in
2012? Yeah, 2012. February 2012 was our first episode.
So the first season I bootlegged, to be perfectly blunt and honest with you.
We didn't lose any money, and we're fine.
That was cool. Because it was the hour-long episodes at that point.
Right.
but yeah, no, I bootleg those because I'm a fan of the sort of the universe of Yusuke universe and Kevin Smith and all that kind of stuff, and obviously Walking Dead and stuff as well. So but that was airing here, so that wasn't so much of an issue to watch, unless I wanted to watch it. Well, if I wanted to watch it straight away, I'd have to bootleg, but you can wait a day before you see
again. Not a problem. We're not that, and statute of limitations over, Barnaby.
Okay,
you're
good, excellent. But then once I moved over there, and then got into the sort of swing of US television and stuff like that, I actually watched you guys as it aired or the morning after, off AMC. So, or I TiVo it, and then watch it whenever I was available to. So that's how I got into it, and I've enjoyed it. Both formats of the show as well. The hour-long show I really enjoyed, and also the sort of cut down 28-minute whatever it was version as well. But no, I really enjoyed the show. It was one of those sort of, because I always like the sort of the History Channel shows, like the sort of American Pickers or Porn Stars or all that kind of stuff. So it kind of had that kind of vibe to it, but on something that I was like really into. Like occasionally on Porn Stars you get someone bringing like I don't know, James Hetfield's guitar or something, once every whatever. You're like, oh cool, it's the guy from Metallica's guitar. It turns out it is, and it's worth $100, and it goes from there. But no, when it came to your guys' show, obviously it has that element to it, but it wasn't just that. For those that haven't seen it over here, I mean, a lot of my friends that are into sort of like the sort of pop culture sort of world, they would have probably bootlegged it, but now we don't have to because it's on Amazon Prime, which is good. And that's why I was kind of brushing up on a few episodes before this as well. So I skipped through a few seasons, the ones that like the latter seasons, so the 2018 season, stuff like that, where I went through. It was just where was I going with this?
You love comic book man, which we were like, go on.
Yeah, no, that's a good. Sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought.
Oh yeah, well, I think originally I asked you how you watched it, so that's cool. Okay. You saw it in the States, and because we didn't know for the longest time it wasn't on in the UK, and people would either hop on BitTorrent or watch it through other means,
alternate means.
And we love that. We love that they went through that extra effort just to watch the show. And
exactly. That proves you're a true fan, that you're willing to break the law for us.
Oh yeah,
so,
totally.
Oh my God. Talk about it's a humbling experience. You were willing to risk going to jail to watch the four of us.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of it like that.
Yeah, real quick. Speaking of BitTorrenting, about a month ago, the Stash got a letter from the internet provider, and somebody had gotten caught downloading an episode of the TV show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It was a letter saying, "Hey, if you continue to use BitTorrent, we're going to cut off your internet connection, and you could be fined." And I was laughing because I knew it wasn't me, so I was like, "Well, who could it have been?" And we're looking at all the suspects. Walt barely knows how to turn on his phone. So, Mike, not that far behind, although he can turn on his phone. So, fingers are pretty much pointed at Gidim, who didn't own up to it. He wouldn't own up to it. So, Mike possibly thought there may have been outside intervention.
Yeah, there was somebody who had access to our internet password.
Yeah, which I don't believe. I think it came from it was an inside job for sure.
An inside job. But I had said that I started binge watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it was coincidence that somebody had.
Was it, Mike? Was it?
It was very much coincidence because I can get it legitimately.
I know you can, but it could have been any show in the world that got downloaded, any show, any movie, anything.
Absolutely. But I said it on a podcast that I was binging Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
right?
And all caught up, and I have to, now I have to wait like a normal schmuck, instead of binging the entire season on Hulu or all 7, and then like the next day it shows up Brooklyn Nine-Nine was illegally, and I'm like, and it was on the day that it dropped, like on Hulu.
Sure.
I'm like, what?
It's an odd coincidence, though. Like,
it was a very odd coincidence, but I had said it on a podcast, and if someone was listening, they could have come over here typed it in, and Gidim actually says he's got an excuse. He's got an alibi, which it could be one of those methinks he doth protest too much.
Right.
He's got like, hey, look, I've got this says I was at an ATM at 7:05.
Yeah, he whipped out a receipt because there was a timestamp on the download, and he whipped out some receipt from, I don't know, like a grocery store. He was like, I was buying like expired meat at that time. And I'm like, that proves nothing. That proves nothing. One and two. Why do you have that receipt? Like, were you prepared to defend yourself with that?
Exactly. Yeah.
I keep all my receipts. I'm like, all right, why am I not shocked?
Yeah. Well, he does. So yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so obviously your internet connection is still going on. Like, if Mike gets kicked out in the middle of this, you'll know why.
Yeah, it's because somebody was downloading. Now we changed the passwords, and we have not had a problem since. Either we scared get him straight, or the guy came over here because something else happened about a week later, and someone had downloaded the Joe Satriani Surfing with the Alien
album,
and I'm like, I've got it on vinyl. If I want it, I'll just. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Somebody's like messing with us. So, and Gidim doesn't know who Joe Satriani is, so I was like, all right. Or he says he doesn't know who Joe Satriani is.
Yes,
it's Satriani, but
Satriani. Sorry,
if you're messing it up on purpose, you're doing a great job.
All right, that's exactly what I was doing.
You're doing a great job. Yeah, Joe Satriani is the mobster, the old mobster who lives around the corner.
That's no, it was his. It was the mob did an a cappella version of Surfing with the Alien.
Yeah, for sure. But I want to thank a lot of people during this quarantine. They've gone back and watched Comic Book Men just out of pure boredom, and I have to thank all those people.
Yeah, we got to thank him and the guy who went back and got your paper. So
yeah,
damn, boredom is great.
It really is. Yeah, you can either take advantage of it or not do anything. So yeah, take advantage of it. Watch Comic Book Men again.
Oh, totally. That's exactly what I've been doing. Like, I've been sort of like on and off, like between like sort of schooling the kids and whatnot, and like getting them going with their work and everything. But yeah, no, I've just been catching up on shows and stuff, and I went back and like I started watching Comic Book Men again, which was great. And like I said before, it's on Amazon Prime, so it's like it's all there. Like before, there was a couple of seasons they kind of delayed the release of some of them, but no, they're all there, and I've just been binging on that. So it's been really good to kind of like catch up on that, because that was something I did back in the States, and it was kind of nice to have it here without having to go through the rigmarole of downloading it, putting it on a memory, doing the hard work like putting on a memory stick and putting it in the Xbox.
Yeah, all you gotta do is literally hit a button.
Exactly.
And me, Mike, Walton, Brian, and Kevin are at your beck and call. Like, we appear.
Again, you're sounding way dirtier than you mean to, Ming. But
what else is new?
Yeah. So.
What else is new? And sometimes I have a couple episodes downloaded on my computer that I've been using just to market our services. That may have been how you discovered that we were doing podcasts with people. But every so often I'll sit there and watch an episode though, and I don't. Is it okay to laugh at yourself, like watching yourself?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. You ever watch yourself back? You're like, no, I'm funny. Like I really.
I'm like, wow, holy crap! Was I really dyeing my hair that dark? Holy God!
Well, yeah, I laugh at that too. But sometimes I was like, wow, I'm actually kind of funny. Like I'll laugh at myself. Like if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at?
I was going to say you were the butt of many jokes at that show, and obviously it's good that you can laugh at yourself generally, but yeah, no, I was just what was that show like for you guys? Because obviously being involved in the sort of like the Kevin Smith universe, if you will, previously you had obviously you work in the store that he owns, you've cameoed in some of his movies, done voices, stuff like that. What was like having your own sort of like platform like?
It was crazy. So before all this, I was known as Kevin Smith's like internet guy. Like I built his website, I set up his first online store. Anytime we ran an event, I would market it, and we sell tickets on there. Like I took care of all that. So I was fine with that. I guess that's what I was known for, was being Kevin Smith's like kind of like his social media guy before there was any social media. So I was fine at that because whenever he would throw an event, people would come like, "Oh, you're Ming," and I was fine being recognized just for that. So I think me and Mike had no aspirations of being on TV. They don't put guys that look like us on TV. I mean, let's be maybe now they do, but back in
that's back in the 70s. You had like Quincy and all the Jake and the Fat Man, and I mean they put Cannon on, for God's sakes. And this is going back. Some people are gonna have to Google who is Cannon. They had like big fat guys or old scary looking dudes or medical examiners and private detectives. You're like, wow, I don't want to be a private detective now.
Yeah, and then to me, like guys they put in movies and TVs are cool guys. Burt Reynolds, Charles Bronson. These are the cool guys and we're nowhere near either of those guys.
But you're forgetting, Ming, that they also put Dom DeLuise and I mean Ned Beatty, for God's sakes.
Right. It's extremes though. It was extremes. Like we're right in the middle, or somewhere around there. We're just average.
Guys
like us on TV.
You never saw the average guy,
right?
So it's absolutely right. But then with the advent of Pawn Stars, you've got 4 extremely unattractive guys who are holding the show. And forgive me if someone out there is like, wow, I thought Rick Harrison was really hot, or wow, I was really a Chumley groupie. That might say more about you than you think. But we're like, damn, we are Burt Reynolds compared to those guys.
Yeah, so the likelihood that we would ever wind up on TV was pretty slim, and then compound that with we work in a comic book shop. Like, why on earth would we ever wind up on TV? And then for me, like, who's the only other Asian you really saw up, like Short Round, from current data from Indiana Jones. I mean, there've been many since then. Ken Jeong from The Hangover is probably like one of my heroes. That's a guy who will do anything, and he does it well. And he's one of those guys who's good at everything. He's a doctor and a comedian and an actor, and he's on like The Masked Singer. Like, that guy can do anything. So, it was pretty mind blowing when you see yourself on TV. However, working with Kevin, you never know what's going to happen. So he might be like, "Hey, I want you to throw an all-day film festival, and it's going to be next week. I'm doing a signing, and I'm going to sign for 13 hours. Like, you got to be there." Or that Walking Dead channel, they want to put you guys on TV, so be ready. So it's always like, wait, what? Like, how high are you? And then it happens. So there's really.
And the answer to that is really high, and it still happens. So Ming, just one question. Would you say that Ken Jeong changed your world?
He changed my world, yes.
He changed your world, yeah.
He changed my world for sure, yes. He changed my world for sure. So it was highly unlikely that and you see Walt and Brian, they're kind of funny looking guys as well.
Yeah.
Like guys that would look like nerds. They don't, up until then they didn't really put nerds on TV. Like real nerds. I'm not talking about like the Big Bang Theory guys. Those guys are actors. They're not. Yeah. So I thought it was pretty cool, but very unlikely. So I think the whole time, you see this wide-eyed look in our eyes. We're like, how the hell did this happen? And it's like, you know what? Let's just roll with it. And it literally started with a text that Kevin sent me. I was at a screening for Red State. I had a DVD of Red State that I was at a screening at. Like, I was in charge of the DVD. Like, I had to bring it back safely to back to the store because it was the only copy. And it was in the middle of that screening. He sent me a text. He was like, "Hey, this is gonna sound really weird, but that Walking Dead channel, they want to do a reality show at the Stash." I'm like, "Oh man, that's awesome, man! That Stash, cool backdrop. You've built a great store. That's awesome." He's like, No. They want you and Mike and Walt and Brian on it. I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, why would they want us on it? We're not. There is no reason that we should be on TV." He's like, "Stay tuned and be ready." I'm like, "Okay." And I was like, "What?" Again, I was like, what strain did he smoke today? Because it's really good. Keep smoking that one because it's delusional. And all of a sudden, one thing happened after the other, and all of a sudden we see ourselves premiering after The Walking Dead. It's pretty crazy. Very
it's crazy, and you had a good, obviously, playing after The Walking Dead, you had a good audience size as well from it, so you're exposed to a lot of people on that front, and obviously I just sort of like, and then sort of seeing you sort of take the con circuit and all that kind of stuff, like jump from there, and seeing some of the guests you got on the show, because your show was kind of like a condensed Comic-Con, if you will, as well. So you'd have like, on most shows you had a special guest. One of my favorite ones was actually one of the recent ones where I think it was for your birthday, Ming, and it was Robert Englund, and that was just like, I was just like, he came in and he puts the Freddy voice on, and I'm just like, that's fucking, how is that? I've seen like, like famous people where I work, because I work in a storefront for a technology company, and we have people coming in and out every day, and occasionally we get like celebrities, and I just, obviously it was a TV show, so you kind of like had like guests booked for it and stuff like that, but I just sort of, I found that really cool from a sort of geek standpoint, like having, I mean, obviously Stan Lee, that was amazing, and seeing your guys' faces with Stan Lee sat there. It was like you're all kids again, and it was amazing. I was just curious, like, who's your like favorite guest been like on that, and like on the entire run? Obviously, given Stan Lee and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, you got to take Stan Lee out of the running because that's the obvious one.
Yeah.
I mean, Stan Lee will forever and always be our favorite guest on there, just because of our history with his work and what he's done, and he was such a great guy too, and
genuinely nice.
Yeah.
Actually, take Adam West out of there too, because I mean, how can you compete with Batman?
Yeah,
you can't. I mean, it's Stan Lee and Batman, so the architect of the Marvel universe and the Cape Crusader. So you got to take those two guys out.
Yeah, but if you're going by that criteria, it's like, all right, well, then you got to take out like Lando Calrissian from Star Wars and Chewbacca.
Yeah, you do. Well,
and Daniel LaRusso and Freddy Krueger.
Yes, you got to take those guys out there. So, I mean, let's put it this way: there was not a guest that we were disappointed in. I mean, Nichelle Nichols was amazing. She was fantastic to have in the shop, and to see her kiss Brian.
Yeah. Twice. She kissed him twice.
I know. I felt so bad for her.
She looked like she liked it, man. Go back and watch that. Roll back the game tape, dude.
She had
she liked it. I think she
made like beard burn on her face.
Yeah, dude. I think Barnaby, man. I think you might have a shot, dude. I think she really liked it.
Maybe. I'll see next time if she's at a con. I'll see if she.
All right.
My wife's probably watching this. Oh wait, it's fine.
How about that kiss, Nichelle? And we had Katrina Law. She is amazing. We knew her from the con circuit, and she is just such a beautiful woman, but just such a cool woman too. Just like amazing. Like make you feel like you're the only person in the room.
Yeah, she's like a lightning bolt, man. She's like a lightning bolt of energy. Is pretty amazing. Our friend Kyril is tuning in here from Moscow. Loved Lou Ferrigno and him training Brian.
Yes, that was a good one.
Lou was pretty cool, and I mean, we just had so many cool people that it was pretty mind blowing. But I think it pretty much all started with Stan Lee, and then it went from there. And I've always loved how Stan. People, how'd you get Stan Lee? It was like Kevin. He loved Kevin, so anything Kevin wanted, he would oblige. Which was pretty cool. Although when he got down to the store to shoot that day, like his first question was like, "Hey, where's Kevin?" Like, well, Kevin's not here today. Kevin's in California. And I was like, "Did you get tricked into coming here? Like, did somebody tell you Kevin was going to be here and he wasn't?" But well, he didn't leave, so I guess he wasn't that disappointed.
That's good. That's good. And like you had like from the show as well, you had your own like Funko Pop figures made and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like my wife collects them, so she was like, I see, obviously they're in my house. I've got a whole bunch of them, but I was just like, what was that like as well? Having yourself kind of like immortalized as a in action figure, I guess.
I I'm sure Mike feels the same way. Of course, we love stuff. We sell Funkos. We've sold them forever. Never thinking we would ever get our own. So again, so unlikely that one day, that Funko would actually produce an actual one with the packaging and everything. I love display items. I remember the very first job I got, cubicle. It looked like Office Space. I worked in a cubicle. And the first thing I did was I set up this whole like Hasbro Kenner Stormtrooper army, and most people thought I was weird. But you would get those one or two people who were still into Star Wars and like, hey man, psst, everyone thinks you're weird, but I think that's really cool. I'm like, hey man, like, thanks man. Like, it's one of the first things I did was set up action figures around my cubicle. While people had like motivational calendars and pictures of their kids, boring stuff. I would. My cubicle looked like the stash. It looked like like the stash blew up in there. So. We're toy collectors. We love display items, and to get one from the biggest pop culture / toy company in the world, and not only that, but one that I'm a fan of too. Me and Mike collect Funkos as well. We've collected forever. We recently kind of just brought our collections together. It's over at the podcast studio, and we just kind of stacked them up, and we're like, where did these come from? How did we get so many? Like we forgot how many we had, and they're and we're still digging them out of boxes and stuff. And we're like, where did these come from? So
I still have a bunch in the trunk of my car, like little corpses that I'm like a gangland hitman, and I'm just like, I gotta find a place to dump these.
Yeah, and I've got a ton in storage. It's crazy, but I like each single one. We love them for different reasons. So there's a reason we bought them all. But to get an actual one, an official one, is pretty mind blowing. I think it boiled down to for me, somewhere in some comic book shop in this world, my Funko's next to like Darth Vader and 11 from Stranger Things and and Spock. Like in any other world, I have no business being near either of those people. But on the Funko shelf, I'm an equal there, and it's kind of cool.
My thinking was, oh my God, I'm going to be in the remainder bin at Walmart for like $1.99 or buy one, get one, where, it's like, oh, you buy the Ming Chen, you get the Mike Zapcic for free. Like, this is going to suck. And it didn't. We sold out. I was like, oh my God, we sold out in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think so. Our initial run of 1,000 sold out very quickly.
So I was like, thank God. Because that really would have blown. I'm like, oh no, please, not next to I don't know, Racer X in the remainder bin. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, and you're happy to report you're not in the dollar bin. Mike Zapcic is currently $80.
Cool,
Mike Zapcic.
All right, I'm 8 times what I think Harry Potter is.
Yeah, man, you're better than Daniel Radcliffe, dude.
Well, I'm no Swiss Army man, but what can I do?
Yeah. Cool. Well, guys, I've got a couple of questions left for you, if that's all right.
That's away, man. Fire away.
Awesome. Basically, when I interview musicians, I have these sort of like standard questions. I've kind of slightly adapted it for you guys because actually I might ask you the same one as well. But what I've got is basically what I want to sort of find out is your three top. Let's go with comic books to start with. 3 top comic books that really kind of like influenced you. So like the first one you picked up and thought, wow. Another one that kind of inspired you to do something like that. If you got anything that really sticks in your mind.
Actually, I have 3, and they're all from the same run. It's the Avengers 151. They brought back Wonder Man, and they chose a new lineup, and it was Avengers 161, where they showed you Ant-Man kicking the Avengers' asses. It was Ant-Man versus all the Avengers. You're like, holy crap! And then Avengers 181, which had a George Perez cover and John Byrne interiors, and they got there was an intrusion on the government. They came in with quotas, and they had to do like the equal rights, and I was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. So there were,
Nice.
yeah, those were three within like 5 years of each other, and
Yeah.
like, this is great.
Cool. And yourself, Ming?
Yeah, my three. First and foremost, I go with the Avengers number 214. It is my very first comic book I got when I was 6 years old,
Nice.
and famously dealt with the aftermath of Hank Pym hitting Janet Van Dyne, which he did in the previous issue. So it dealt with a pretty heavy topic. Although that wasn't the main plot line. The main plot line was Ghost Rider coming back, and the Avengers have to defeat him. Which as a 6-year-old I was way more into than domestic dispute or domestic violence, because I didn't know what that was. My parents didn't beat each other, so
That you knew of.
yeah, that I knew of. But I thought even for the early 80s for a comic book, pretty heavy topic. And as Mike informed me later on, he was like, that all kind of happened by accident. There was a misinterpretation with the script. But I was like, wow, man, like superheroes, man and wife beating on each other. Like, wow, that's that we'll probably never see that in a movie, or we might. But
I hope not. I mean, I don't need that shit.
Yeah,
not like you guys.
Yeah, and I ended up buying an issue of 213 in Scotland. Some comic book dealer had it. I was like, I should probably get this for posterity. But that's the one that kicked me off on my comic book journey for sure. 214, and while I'll always love the Avengers for sure. The second one, Preacher, number 1. Preacher got me back into comics back in 96, 97. I'd stopped reading for a while, not because I didn't like them anymore. I didn't have any money. Comics, they were not 25 cents or 50 cents anymore. Like when I was collecting the G.I. Joe comics, and I just I had to eat. I chose food over comics, which Mike was like, "Why would you do that?"
All right.
In
a dumpster.
But that was like, I remember reading that, and I was like, "Holy, like they're allowed to do this?" Like I was like, "But this is awesome." I have never seen or read anything like this ever. And then this was around the time I had met Kevin, and the first trade paperback Preacher up on the top. The first trade paperback is called Gone to Texas, I believe.
Yep.
And right up top is a quote from Kevin Smith that says, "More fun than going to the movies." And I was like, "Whoa! If a filmmaker, one that I admire highly, says that, like, I must be on the right track." So. And as it turned out, I was. That's an amazing book. Yeah. And the other one I have right here. This is one that this is the Jack Knight Starman, which came out 96, I believe. James Robinson, Tony Harris. This is one that no one really talks about, which I think is a crime. But
they should.
Freaking cool book, man. And I hope we see this in a movie version someday. It might be a while, but if I ever get promoted to the revolving door of like DC film executives, I'm like, this is the one I'm fast tracking. So everyone should pick this up. Although there's 6 volumes of an omnibus now.
Yeah, but those are difficult to find.
Yeah, they're hard to find. But this shouldn't be that hard to find. This is great. Scott Mosier turned me on to this, and Scott Mosier is a cool guy, so I was like, if Scott likes this must be cool. And as it turned out, he was right. So
nice.
Ming Chen and peer pressure.
No, I'm gonna have to check that out. I mean, it's always cool hearing what people's like first things were on that front, and the sort of like Preacher. I love Preacher. I love the TV show as well. Actually, I thought that was pretty well done. But the comic is great. Like you said, it's like nothing you kind of like
nothing like that,
really. Nothing you read before, kind of thing. And it's amazing. And I'm going to check out Starman. I'm going to see if I can track it down here.
You'll thank me later. You'll thank me later.
You will, actually. It's a great run.
I will let you know if I pick that up and when I read it. So and I'll let you know on that front. But what I was going to do is ask you one of the questions I normally ask the other guys as well. Like, I want to find out, like, this is a music question, so I want to find out what your sort of like top 3 albums are.
Great question. Mike, do you have 3 off the top of your head?
I can Bat Out of Hell, Breakfast in America, Supertramp.
Really?
I love Bat Out of Hell. It's great.
No. Bat Out of Hell is cool. Really? Supertramp, really?
Love Supertramp. Oh my God, they're fantastic. Breakfast in America, very, very groundbreaking back in the day. And
that's cool. I did not know that was on your top 3 albums.
yeah, and
that's awesome.
Joe Satriali surfing with the alien, but the acapella. I'm trying to think what God, Police Synchronicity. That was a good one. I mean, I love 80s music.
Nice.
Well, 2 of those 3 albums I own on vinyl, and yeah, I just gotta bring up real quick. The Breakfast in America Supertramp album is cool because the inside the slipcover looks like a menu.
Yeah,
like a diner menu.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I've got an honorable mention. The Rolling Stones' "Let It Bleed" because that was just a great album. As a kid, looking at that, and you've got the cake on the front and the destroyed cake on the back. I was like fascinated by it.
My top 3, I go with Tribe Called Quest, the Low End Theory. I'm trying to pick a Zeppelin album. Like I want to go cliche and say 4, but I think Led Zeppelin 2 that's a close. Those are close albums. I'll go with Led Zeppelin 2. Just everyone says Led Zeppelin 4, although both of those are pretty mind blowing.
Someone watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High not too long ago.
And number 3 is so tough, man. But I might go like my favorite just because of the story, but the music. But like Cowboy Junkies, the Trinity Session is a really, really amazing album. Not only for the content, but I think it was recorded over 2 days in a church in Toronto, Canada, and they weren't even supposed to be there. They had tricked the church into saying that they were going to sing religious music. and they never got kicked out, but they just acoustically and everything. That's like those are 3 definite like desert island albums for sure.
That's awesome. I'm gonna check some of those out. Some of them I haven't listened to. Tribe Called West I haven't listened to in ages. So
again, you'll thank us later.
But I do love a bit of Meatloaf. It's about Out of Hell. That's a good one. Yeah, obviously, being from the land of Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones and things like that, generally I was brought up on those bands. So they're all good on that front. So
great question.
Yeah,
really great question.
I always try and get that, like, especially with like musicians, I always ask that the same way I asked you about the sort of like comic books and sort of finding out which ones made them want to pick up their instrument, which ones made them want to sing, which ones really kind of set them on the path.
I'm totally stealing that too. I'm interviewing some musicians tonight. I'm stealing that.
Do it. That's fine. That's all good. It's all good. I pirated your show, so you can steal that. It's fine.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
But I've got one last question for you guys. And I can let you get on with the rest of your day. Because I know it's you're 5 hours behind me, so it's still relatively early. But obviously you've turned what most people consider a hobby into a profession. What are your guys' hobbies? What do you do away from the sort of like when you're not working at the stash, when you're not like on the, obviously right now you're not on the con circuit because we're in lockdown, but what are your kind of like getaways from that?
Oh man, see that's a tough question. Is I think we did turn our hobbies into professions. Previously, the hobby was podcasting.
Yeah,
we're like, hey, let's open a studio and see if we can make money doing this. Previously the hobby was traveling or going to Comic-Cons, and then we're kind of doing that. Well, I do a lot of yoga. I guess is that a hobby? I guess. That's a way to make sure that after I eat, because people see how much I eat. That's a way to not be like 400 pounds, I guess. I've recently, during this quarantine, I dug out a very expensive bike that I bought a number of years ago because I thought it was going to be a triathlete, and that didn't really take, but I still have the bike that, I didn't want to sell it. So I've been trying to do that more and more. I've been animating logos, something I learned how to do like 20 years ago, and it's kind of come in handy in this age of social media and Instagram stories and TikTok and trying to figure out TikTok. I think that's my new hobby, and I don't know if it's gonna work. I think I'm too old for it, but either that or if you might see me and Mike dancing though. You don't know.
Yeah, not together. All right, just so you know. Dancing.
You don't have to do it together. You can do a thing called duets where you split screen it and you try to follow along with one that somebody already did. Like I don't know.
42,000 that Hal was on in Malcolm in the Middle. No, all right, good enough. But I actually turned my hobby, my original job was I was a cook. So I love to cook, and I've been doing that a lot more lately for my family. So, really cool. I still cook. I still do a lot of that. So
cool. Well, actually, before we leave, I wouldn't mind giving a shout out to your podcast studio, the business you've set up, A Shared Universe. He's wearing the logo.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
No, I was just actually that was a question that I've got written down, but I don't know if we've got time for it. But I was just sort of like,
no, ask away. You're plugging the business, dude. What
cool.
question?
Well, no, I was just like, when I saw you guys starting, because I've been following you guys on social media for a while, and then seeing you guys sort of open up a studio for not just yourselves, but for other people to kind of like jump in and take up podcasting. I was just like, how's that been for you guys? I mean, obviously, right now it's probably quite difficult just due to the crap that everyone's in at the moment. But it's just sort of, I never saw like myself, like when you like announced you did it, I was like, that's such a fucking good idea. Like, and because there are a lot of people out there, I always get asked, how do you podcast? Like, and I've helped countless people to sort of get started. But yeah, how's that actually been for you guys? Actually having like, people asking you, how do you podcast? And then suddenly you've got, a business front for it where people can go in and.
I mean, that's exactly how it started. People are like, well, how do you start a podcast? We listen to your shows. You guys sound like you're having so much fun. We want to start. How do we start? And as you know from helping your friends or anybody who has asked you, it's not a 10-minute answer. It's a little more involved than that. Some people like using different gear. Some people are not as tech savvy as other people. It's a whole range of things. But that's where it was birthed. We would go to conventions or people would come in the store and be like, hey, how do I start a podcast? You guys make it look like so much fun. I think we want to do this. And we're like, wow, okay. Buy this, do this. But it was always like, you need like at least an hour to even get, kind of some of the basics down.
Scratch the surface.
Yeah. And then, I would not want to teach you about podcasting without actually recording an episode. So that's another hour right there. It was like, well, this is like a 2-hour process. This is like a class. We should teach a class. And then I was like, how do we teach class? We need like a classroom or a studio or something. And that's kind of how all this birth got birthed. So, yeah, I think we'd always had the idea. And it was like, well, how do we do this? We got to like pay rent and get an office space or something. And, slowly but surely it happened with the, Mike lit a couple fires as well. But, we went through some trials and tribulations to get where we're at. It wasn't just like a one-day process. And we didn't even know once we started this, like, well, is anyone going to use this?
Yeah. We're going to be in here all by ourselves.
Yeah. Maybe it's just us who love this so much. Is anybody going to actually want to start a podcast and hire someone to help them or come and use a studio every week? But, it took a little while, but the answer is a resounding yes, though. People want to do this and they don't want to worry about XLR cables and pop filters and RSS feeds. And it's really worked out. It's been great. And even with the pandemic and everything, it's worked out pretty great. We've adapted. We've moved everybody online. Anybody who's podcasted with us in studio, but it gave us an opportunity to do this. You can't. You're in England. Yeah. You can't come to the studio unless you take a trip.
Yeah.
But through the magic of technology, it's like we're not physically together, but this is pretty good. Yeah. I see you. We don't have to smell each other. It's great. And we talk like we're having a conversation. There's nothing really limiting us from having a normal conversation doing this. It's actually worked out, in somewhat of a good way. We've kind of found a silver lining, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I was just like to say, when I first saw the sort of like when you were sort of doing this, I was just like, that is such a good idea because like you say, it's not a straightforward price, not a 10-minute answer. It's not, it's like literally people ask me, oh, what do you use for your setup? And I go through everything and you can see them glaze over. Like,
right.
I have no idea what any of that is. And then you've got to like, you sort of remember like there's certain parts of it. Like you can record on most things. Like your phone, your computer's got a microphone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There are no shortage of recording devices. You have one on you already. You
exactly.
podcast on your phone if you wanted to.
Yeah. And it's like it's all like the sort of like back end things that are kind of like you don't mention initially.
Right.
So there's the hosting, there's the sort of like, you know, how you're going to release it, how do you get it submitted to all the platforms and all that kind of stuff. And it's like there's quite a steep learning curve on it. Like if you were sort of like go fully into it, it's a few hours of at least like chatting, and then, you know, a few hours of just sort of recording.
Yeah,
you know,
for
and
sure.
then
So, you know, we wanted to make it easy. Come in, bring your friends, bring a co-host, bring a guest, record, and we'll take care of the rest and have fun and come back and do it every week.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And I've seen, like, obviously because you post these online and stuff like that, and I see the sort of companies that are coming in and just using it for having their, like, you know, podcast, be it in person, be it, you know, via like we're doing right now, like via web chat and stuff. And I just wanted to applaud you on that, because that was such a good idea. And like to open it up to everyone as well, because it's like I kind of likened it to recording studios for musicians.
Yeah,
you know,
you don't need talent.
Yeah, exactly. You just need to be able to make some kind of noise with your mouth.
Yep.
But guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Barnaby. That was great.
And
great.
I will. I'll let you know. That's all right. he's getting all the phone calls.
Now we're sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. But no, I was just gonna say good luck during like the pandemic and everything, the lockdown. Hope you guys stay safe and all that. And
you as well.
Know.
Yeah, we'll come to your side soon. Very
simply.
And if I venture back your way, I will pop into a shared universe and maybe record something.
Please do.
Yeah.
Come to Clubhouse.
Yeah, that's a definite.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.